European Council President Charles Michel believes that Russia has betrayed the Armenian population following Azerbaijan's attack on Nagorno-Karabakh.
Is a man who worked for Shell an ideal pick to lead Europe's green policies? Dutch politician Wopke Hoekstra tells MEPs he's the right person for the job.
The Italian island of Lampedusa marks 10 years since a shipwreck off its coast took the lives of more than 360 people.
The President of the European Council believes that Russia has betrayed the Armenian population following Azerbaijan's attack on Nagorno-Karabakh. Talking to Euronews, Charles Michel underlined that this is one of the lessons learned from the conflict between Yerevan and Baku.
Mais il y a une certitude maintenant, plus personne ne peut ne pas le voir, c'est que la Russie a trahi la population arménienne. Et la Russie a émis le souhait d'avoir des soldats présents pour garantir ces accords de stabilité, ces accords de sécurité. Et on voit que cette opération militaire a été déclenchée sans qu'il y ait la moindre réaction de la Russie qui était sur le terrain. Ce qui n'était pas le cas de l'Union européenne qui, elle, n'a pas de force militaire présente sur le terrain, comme vous le savez.
Charles Michel will try and kickstart fresh talks between Armenia and Azerbaijan during a summit of European countries in Grenada at the end of the week, even if the last mediation failed to prevent the recent attack.
Au 1er janvier, le Haut-Karabakh cessera d'exister. Comment créer la confiance dans ces conditions ?
Je pense qu'il y a une grande responsabilité du côté de l'Azerbaïdjan. À partir du moment où c'est l'Azerbaïdjan qui a déclenché une opération militaire, c'est maintenant l'Azerbaïdjan de montrer une bonne volonté, une bonne foi dans un engagement avec une surveillance nécessaire par la communauté internationale pour protéger les droits et la sécurité de toute la population qui vit en Azerbaïdjan, y compris la population arménienne.
But relations between the European Union and Azerbaijan are complex. The bloc increased its purchase of gas supplies from Baku last year. A deal that Charles Michel refrains from questioning, opting instead to put the emphasis on peace efforts.
C'est un partenaire aujourd'hui. Oui, c'est un partenaire. Est-ce que pour autant ça veut dire que la relation est simple ? Non, la relation n'est pas simple. Est-ce qu'il y a une difficulté ? Oui, et cette difficulté est réelle, elle doit être appréhendée.
You can watch the full interview from Wednesday on Euronews on the Global Conversation.
Est-ce que pour autant ça veut dire que la relation est simple ? Non, la relation n'est pas simple. C'est par la communauté internationale pour protéger les droits et la sécurité de toute la population.
EU foreign affairs ministers are putting on a united front in support of Ukraine by gathering in the capital, Kyiv. However, the meeting failed to unblock the €500 million of European military aid, which Hungary has continued to veto. But according to EU Foreign Policy Chief Joseph Borrell, the strongest security for Ukraine is to be an EU member state.
The strongest security commitments that we can give to Ukraine is European Union membership. This is the strongest security commitment for Ukraine. Now Ukraine is a candidate country and he is going further on this way.
Hungary has refused the passage of the aid due to Ukraine's listing of Hungarian bank OTP on the list of so-called international sponsors of war. Ukraine has since agreed to temporarily remove the bank, but sources say Hungarians are arguing this isn't enough. EU diplomats privately expressed frustration at Hungary's repeated use of the veto on issues relating to Ukraine. In the past, Prime Minister Orban has demanded the removal of Russian individuals from EU sanctions lists, including Russian Orthodox Church leader Patriarch Kirill, a Putin ally and supporter of the war.
He means the EU. And the same should be said with Patriarch Kirill, who they also had removed from sanctions because they were trying to be nice to him and the Russians. And in the end, he's just extorting as much as he possibly can from his power. It's dirty, it's illegitimate, but I guess the Ukrainians are saying, well, you know, we've got to be pragmatic here. We've got bigger fish to fry, and we're going to have to tolerate some of this and try to get to arrangements, distasteful as they may be, because we've got a war to fight.
The Hungarian Foreign Affairs Minister didn't join his fellow ministers in Kyiv, with the government sending an official in his place. Talks are ongoing between all sides, and there remains some hope that eventually the money can be unlocked, with Hungary giving its imprimatur. Shona Murray, Euronews, Brussels.
Serbian forces apparently pulling back reinforcements from the Kosovo border. Numbers there doubled last week in the wake of a shootout in Kosovo between heavily armed men and police. Washington welcomed reports of a de-escalation.
We have seen the reports that Serbia has withdrawn military personnel and equipment away from the border. We have not yet verified those independently, and we will be looking for further confirmation. But if true, that would be a welcome step, something that we called for to happen last week, and we would welcome them having taken that step.
A Serbian general said troop numbers have been cut to 4,500 and clarified details of the troop build-up last week.
Već 25. septembra 8.350 je bila brojna veličina angažovanih pripadnika ne samo za obezbeđenje administrativne linije u kopnoj zoni bezbednosti, već i u sastavima jedinica koje lociraju I razmeštene su blizu administrativne linije.
But Kosovo remains convinced Serbia was behind the September attack that left a police officer and 3 insurgents dead. NATO beefed up its presence in Kosovo after the incident. The Dutch politician and former oil executive Wopke Hoekstra faced a 3-hour grilling from MEPs, who he's hoping will greenlight his appointment as EU Commissioner for Climate Action. His nomination by the Netherlands follows the resignation of Frans Timmermans, who's returned to Dutch politics. Hoekstra, a former Vice Prime Minister, Foreign Minister and Christian Democrat Party leader, promised to continue with the EU's ambitious climate plan.
And with the European Green Deal, President von der Leyen and former Executive Vice President Timmermans laid the foundations for Europe's green transformation. And I want to assure you that continuity is in place on the entire Green Deal. In my own portfolio, I aim to swiftly conclude all pending negotiations. But I will not be a caretaker. It simply wouldn't do justice to the scale, to the magnitude of our challenge.
So I now give you the floor. Hoekstra's 2-year stint working for Shell led some MEPs to question his credibility for a role leading climate change action. One German MEP was worried that the biggest EU political group would misuse the key position.
The real question is, will the EPP continue with their anti-Green Deal politics, voting against all of the climate laws, or will we have an ambitious climate policy? And he needs to be still more convincing. He had nice words, but not concrete. So I will try to pin him down.
At the hearing, Hoekstra said he would cut CO2 emissions by 90% by 2040. That pledge went too far for some of his own Conservative Party members.
He needs to convince the Environment Committee, and that's why he does commitments which I don't always like. So we are not so enthusiastic about fixing the ambition for the 2040 target already now.
The European Parliament will vote on Hoekstra's nomination on Thursday.
The war in Ukraine and climate change.
The Italian island of Lampedusa is marking a decade since a major shipwreck off its coast. More than 360 people lost their lives in the early morning of October 3rd, 2013.
Several events have been organised on the island ahead of today's ceremony that have been attended by both Italian and European students, representatives of international organisations and associations. And today a march has been organised that will be followed by a wreath of flowers that will be thrown at sea. Now, the aim of the 3rd of October Committee, a charity that has been organising the event every year since 2013, is to remember those who died in 2013, but also each and every person who has died trying to cross the Mediterranean in the past 10 years. 27,000 people have died in the attempt of crossing the Mediterranean in the past 10 years. And the aim really is to try and answer one simple question: how is it possible that 10 years on shipwrecks still occur and that so many people die as a result of that? And this has been really the main theme of this year's commemoration. Now, the event has been particularly significant as well, given that the share of migrant arrivals on the island has increased compared to previous years, and that Lampedusa has indeed become the main point of arrival for migrants who try to reach Europe. Giorgio Orlandi for Euronews in Rome.
Further chaos within the US Republican Party as Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz files a motion to strip House Speaker Kevin McCarthy of his office. Gaetz has accused McCarthy of making a side deal with President Biden to help fund the war in Ukraine and of holding back on cuts to public spending. With the support of House Democrats, McCarthy ushered through a 45-day stopgap bill late on Saturday to prevent a shutdown of the federal government. McCarthy responded to Gaetz's threat to remove him in a post on social media, reading, "Bring it on."
Spanish giants Real Madrid will be hoping to maintain their perfect start to their Champions League campaign when they travel to southern Italy to take on Napoli this evening. Apart from a loss to their bitter rivals Atletico Madrid, Carlo Ancelotti's men have won all of their fixtures this season and currently sit top of La Liga. Whilst Real Madrid outclassed Girona over the weekend, Napoli will enter the contest off the back of a thumping 4-0 victory over Lecce in Serie A. The Italian champions, led by the informed Victor Osimhen, have won 3 of their last 4 matches in all competitions, including a 2-1 victory over Braga in their Champions League opener. Both sides last met in the knockout phase in 2017, with the Spanish giants winning 3-1 both home and away to advance into the quarter-finals. In Group C's other game, Union Berlin will be aiming to end a 5-game losing run in all competitions when they host Braga. In Group A, Manchester United will be looking to bounce back from their loss to Bayern Munich when they take on Galatasaray at Old Trafford. Elsewhere, Mikel Arteta's Arsenal will lock horns with French side Lens following their emphatic win over PSV Eindhoven at the Emirates. And in Group D, last year's finalists Inter welcome Benfica, whilst Real Sociedad travel to Salzburg.